seconds to catch up to us around the world. Without further ado, welcome everyone to episode 5, the Level Up Your Wealth podcast. One of your hosts, Marcus Howard, with we have two special guests today. One of them is drinking as much milk as he can before he goes to sleep. Mario and BJ, thank you for joining us this evening.
Yeah. What's going on, y'all? Hope all is well here in beautiful Jacksonville, Florida. It's not raining. It's cold outside, but it's not snowing, so it could be worse. So BJ, introduce yourself and tell us where you're from.
Yeah, so BJ Fink, I do a lot of different things in esports. I've been a university esports director. Now I focus more on consulting and kind of really developing esports 2.0 leaders, and helping people manage better esports programs. But I also work with brands trying to jump into the esports space, a lot of startups and different things like that. But I live here in Abingdon, Virginia now in the Blue Ridge Mountains. So it's not been too bad. We did have like 10 days where we were out of school because of the snow this year, but it's good. Yeah.
Yeah. How much snow did y'all get?
They got maybe 8 to 10 inches during that time. So it wasn't like it could have been worse, but because you're here in the mountains and there's so many like back roads and like just places people can't get to, so when it snows, everything shuts down.
Man, so I'm born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay, yeah.
But here in Florida, if it was 10 inches of snow, it would be like apocalypse.
Maybe.
What's going on? Everything would be everything would probably be shut down for like weeks. I mean, so
Yeah.
I think it was probably once or maybe twice that it snowed here, and like just like the inkling of snow is like everything shuts down.
Yeah, everybody buys all the eggs from the store, right?
Yeah, all the eggs, all the salt, so that they could make sure, even though 1 inch ain't nothing sticking, they
Right,
yeah.
right.
So all the water, it's crazy, man. So yeah, so Florida snow and Virginia snow got to be different.
Little bit.
Yeah. So is a lot of esports going around in the mountains? Like I guess if it snowed in, you're more secluded. I guess you do play more, but that would be a good. Y'all comment, like, do you think more gamers game people like in a rural area, or you think more gamers are in metropolitan areas? Marcus, you got a stat for that?
I don't have a stat for that. That's some research. That's a question that needs answers.
Now, here's the thing though. Here's the kicker. Are you defining gaming as online, or all these people that are still in like 1980s on their Ataris out here when the power goes out or the internet goes out? All right, maybe they don't even have it, and they're
Yeah.
gaming, man.
Yeah. I don't need an internet for the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, right.
If I have all the cables.
All right, so BJ, question of the day. So you team Nintendo or would you team Atari?
I'd have to be Team Nintendo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Nah, me too. Atari was just a little bit too slow for me. But that was actually the first console I had was an Atari though.
Now you throw in a fun Sega device from back in the day. I don't know.
Yeah. Now Sega was cutting edge. Sonic the Hedgehog edge. All
Speaking
right,
of
so
cutting edge, we got the rock, paper, scissors game, our favorite game that we play every week. If you're joining us, number one, thank you for joining us. Let us know in the chat where you're tuning in from. Number two, we have a 1v1 match between BJ and Mario on rock, paper, scissors. So let us know in the comments, who do you think is going to win? We will select one of the people who selects the winner. They'll win a free digital copy of Mario's book, The Relaxed Investor, and my book, Innovate Gaming and Esports. So let us know in the comments. Mario, if you go ahead and pull up your screen,
yeah,
we'll get this round kicked off. So BJ, you want to select the left tab and then quick match.
Quick match. Okay.
You see quick match?
I'm in it. Like I just click in quick match. Yeah.
Yeah, quick match. Yeah, and it'll match you up directly with Mario because it's late, so we're the only ones playing rock, paper, scissors.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Okay.
So it's just like rock, paper, scissors. You pick the rock, paper, scissors,
Right.
win, lose, or draw. If you both pick the same one, first to 10 points wins.
Okay.
Ah,
Oh.
yeah. Now, fun fact: I was down I think like 9-3 last week, but I came back.
Ooh. Okay.
That's the Ethernet cable to the router, so please don't pull that cable.
hold on, BJ. Are you you know, in baseball they did sign stealing like the Astros? Are you card stealing over here?
You know, I wish I was good enough for that. Let's just say
Mario, his job is to play video games on the daily.
with those two little ones at home, I get pretty good at predictive like things. Like, what are you gonna do next? Although I feel like I'm starting to wonder now.
So BJ, also at the top and the bottom of the screen, it shows a history of the decisions you've made. So if you want
Right.
to get into the meta, you can look at some trends and try to get even more predictive.
That's fair. That's fair.
You got a pick, man. Did you
I
pick?
did. I picked it. I picked it. Mine's
Uh-oh.
like locked in.
Oh,
Mine is too.
all right then. Well, looks like this is the match, and the winner is who has the most points? I think Mario.
No, BJ.
BJ. Okay.
Yeah.
Well.
In the words of Trump, this game was rigged.
Anyway, thanks for playing, BJ.
No problem. No problem.
Yeah.
My daughter just learned rock paper scissors, so we played a few rounds recently.
Yeah.
That's how you prepped. Yeah.
That's how I prepped.
Yeah. Rigged election. So you consult. So let us know about your firm. What made you get into the education arena from a consulting standpoint with esports?
Yeah, whew. I mean, there can be a long story involved in a lot of that, but I worked in higher ed, different levels from teaching to working in admissions, and then of course being an esports director at a couple different institutions, launching programs from scratch, and then I helped other high schools and universities do the same. And then with my kiddos, when they came along, I was missing every bedtime, working every night with esports. Right, you had matches like every night of the week, and I was like, man, I kind of missed this, and so the opportunity came, and I kind of stepped out of that full time role with that. And decided to kind of launch my brand Radical Esports Consulting, to really drive home the idea that we're pushing this esports 2.0, right? You hear community focused, impact driven, but player supportive, esports that puts people first and the players, right? After working in that higher ed environment for a long time, you realize what the students want, what the players want, what they're going through, what their where their mentality is at. And a lot of brands miss the mark with those kind of audiences or with gamers and esports in general. And so I really help to, and it's kind of a passion of mine to put those brands and align them with people first mentality, and understanding what the thoughts are behind gamers and esports, and what they're really thinking versus what's being portrayed out there.
Okay. What do you think some of the stereotypes of gamers and esports? What are some of the negative stereotypes you think that's out there?
Yeah, well, one of the ones. So as a as the esports director, especially one trying to launch brand new programs, right, you had to jump through some hoops,
Mhm.
convince a lot of people. And the couple stereotypes that always popped up were, of course, gamers have the worst grades, right?
Not is that true, or is that a stereotype?
It's a stereotype. It's a
Okay.
stereotype. You'll have some gamers with bad grades, but right, with the advent of kind of this new age of gaming, and with esports, right, they're engineering, they're science people, mathematics, and like the average GPA my for our pilot program in one of our esports launches was 3.5. So it was
Mm.
like, these aren't the kids that they're not just staying in the room not doing their homework and things like that. And of course esports brings that level of accountability to it now, where I'm making sure you're doing your homework or you don't get to play the game,
Yeah. Okay.
right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think that one's just a stereotype that's perpetuated, right? And still a lot of people think that, but it's just not, it's not founded on anything.
Now, I know with gaming, right? So, like the younger that we are, we have Barry Bonds, right? Hand-eye coordination. Did he take the
Right.
steroids? We don't know,
Right.
right? but but yeah. So, like the thought process is the younger the gamer, like the better they are. So, from like a dropout standpoint, I would think that gamers who want to be professional, who want to be on esports teams, they're probably dropping out of college to kind of pursue that career and to be full fledged. Is that a myth, or is that accurate or not accurate?
Yeah, so that would be accurate, right? In the sense that like they're recruiting these kids at 16, right? So they're 16, but they drop them at 22, right, from the
Mm.
program, and these kids have no prospects. They're not educating them while they're going through this, and in the industry, right, to that extent, they retire them at like 20. Maybe that kid becomes the manager of the team for another year or so, and then they drop them from the organization because there's no point to keeping them anymore from their standpoint. And so you never even have players in there long enough to build a structure in the first place,
Mm.
right? On top of not educating them and things like that. So, but if you look at it from a traditional kind of sports perspective too, I mean, and we're talking like 100 years ago. That's what happened too, right? These players, they were college age when they were playing in those pro am leagues and things like that. They didn't go to school, and so that trajectory is similar. But esports is trying to skip the 70 years in between, that, right?
Yeah.
And you can't really do that well. And I think the education is coming up now to that point where you're going to start to see, yeah, younger people have seem to just get video games better every generation, right? Like they just get it more and more. But what you're missing throughout all of that is that mental fortitude, the mental skill set. And so, that comes later. So I think you're going to start to see that teams, they don't want you just to click the button faster, right? And understand game mechanics, but they're going to move to a more professional mindset. And hopefully those players then, because they're developing mental skills as they go along, right? Those are going to be your team captains and people that stick around longer.
Mhm. From a revenue standpoint, like what needs to happen? I know, of course, esports have kind of when it came down late revenue standpoint, but like what does
Oh, we lost his audio there for a little bit.
where it's money?
Now
Oh,
we can
there
hear
you
you.
go.
Now we can hear you. We can hear you. We can hear you back.
Yeah, yeah. Nah, I was just asking, like, what needs to happen to make esports and teams like to the masses, right? So it still feels kind of niche now, right? Maybe I'm
Yeah.
just thinking that, but like, what do you think needs to happen to kind of expand it? Because everybody plays games, either console, mobile, PC, but like,
Yeah.
what do you think needs to happen?
Yeah,
Well,
that's not a stereotype, Mario. It is niche. It's very,
right.
very
It's very niche. No,
niche.
I think first of all they all need to talk to Marcus, but
Yeah, yeah.
uh other than that, right? They honestly they have to you have to get buy-in, right? And not
Mm,
not just to the idea of esports, but like I mean, awareness number one, right? And that's radical esports. That's my consulting, right? Research, awareness, development, community, and leverage. You really have to go through those steps, and they skipped like tons of them, right? And this idea, right? They just went to how can we leverage the internet to grow our brands, and they forgot everything that came before that. There was no community, there was no research developed into it. They're like, these people play video games. Let's stream to them. Let's build a team around that. Let's stream the team, and then like I don't know who the players are. I don't have time to keep up with a player switching out every 6 months.
mm.
There's no buy-in, there's no value, there's no connection because you didn't develop any community or value behind the product other than like look at this video game, and on average somebody's tuning in for 5 minutes at a time. Even somebody that likes esports and likes video games, they're watching for 5 minutes, jumping out, maybe coming back when they know it's been 40 minutes and the match is about to end. Hey, how's that going to end? But nobody's sticking around in the middle. So you have to you have to build buy-in and real value in that product around the sport itself before you try to just stream and entertain people.
It's interesting you said that. That's kind of like the death of college basketball, even though like college basketball is kind of boring now. But one of the reasons why is because like the very, very good players, like in the 70s, 80s, even to the 90s when you had the Fab Five, like they stayed for their freshman, sophomore, sometimes their junior year. But now,
Yeah,
like now you have like the one and dones. Most people that are good enough to go to the league, they go for a semester, then they're gone, and like so you don't might have a favorite team, but the people change every year or two
yeah,
years.
right.
Transfers, it's kind of like the same thing. I don't think, from a college basketball standpoint, like I don't see how basketball, college wise, will ever be big again because for that reason. So, like, what are things from a consultant standpoint you think that can happen that would allow individuals to have more buy-in, watch esports more, and have it grow more?
Yeah, definitely. And using that example, the one thing you can take, right, is that while college basketball isn't at that same level, it's pu- because those institutions have community buy-in. Like everybody knows Duke. It doesn't matter if I watch any of their games, I know who they are,
Mm.
right? And you ask the average person, name one college basketball team. Duke. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Right? They know it. They know it. Even though they
Yeah.
don't. Ask the average person, name one esports team. Nothing. I mean, they're
Like
gonna be like, "What's
Ninja,
Esports?"
maybe, right? Yeah.
Right?
That's
They
the
might
answer.
name right the most popular streamer they've ever heard of,
Right.
but they're like, there's no like, oh, I know, like, yeah, Team Oxygen or Cloud9. There's nobody knows, and so number one, why don't they know? And you got to solve that problem first, and it's because all you did was try to reach these gamers that were in this competitive mindset rather than the general public or your communities. Like if I walk across to my neighbor, they don't know what esports is. So if I'm trying to build something in my community or build a brand, like you better get your neighbors, your community involved and build that as kind of that local buy-in, and that's the same. That's what professional sports did. They had their little local pro-am teams 100 years ago, and everybody came to like started to understand who they were, and they laughed at them at first, and even some of those things are like, why are these people just like doing this stuff out here? And do it with esports, build that local value, that mindset, and then go big, right? Connect all the grassroots, the local teams together, and create real value amongst the community and in knowledge and education and outreach, and then go big. You can't start at the top, stream to the world, and go look at this cool thing we've done, and everybody's like, I don't know what that is. I can't follow it. You're panning the camera too fast. Who is that legend? What is that champion doing? They just shot a fireball. I don't know what's happening. And then you go, now pay us millions of dollars.
Yeah, BJ, I think hit the nail on the head when he said community, right? He mentioned it several times, community, and I think that's the major difference. Is what he's talking about, community versus what professional teams typically refer to as audience or
Mm.
following, right? And so they almost look at this what should be a community as like a line item on a spreadsheet, right, for the sake of selling to advertisers. But if you ask them, to name specific people out of that what should be community, they can't do it.
So can we actually qualify audience versus community? And like, so we close our eyes, audience, and we open our eyes, community. Like, what's really the difference?
I think the difference is a relationship,
Mm.
and I don't think that the relationship exists there.
Yeah,
And
right.
for all the
It's
reasons
that
you described.
idea.
Go ahead.
What's some of you think of some of your favorite brands that are even out there amongst things, right? They have a loyal following. Those people show up day in and day out, and like HubSpot, for example, right? Their community management is out of this world. They show up for their community. They host lectures and events, and they do education, and they respond to people. They talk to people. Esports was just like, watch us. We're not going to acknowledge you're there, but please watch us, right?
Mm.
And that's an audience versus a
Mm.
community.
Mm. So I guess we see the huge tournaments. That's more audience. So then, from a consultant standpoint, how can you convert an audience member into a community member?
Number one, ask them why they're there.
Okay.
Say, why are you here? Why did you show up tonight? What do you hope to get out of this? And I mean, it's literally going back to, I don't know, focus grouping, right? If you
Mhm.
will, you literally need to focus group. What can we do to keep you around? What would you like to see from us? How can we engage with you and build a better product around you, right? I often use the example of Apex Legends right now, right? I don't know if you've played that, Marcus, in a minute, but I get throttled so hard, and it's not even like real people sometimes. Like they use wall hacks and they use these new configs on the controllers, and like it's all these ways to get around the actual rules of the game rather than engaging with the game. And
Yeah.
so
Mm.
casual players, your entire casual community has left Apex for the most part
Yeah.
because it's not fun anymore, and all they're doing is catering. I mean, the number of TTVs you see in Apex, I mean, it's like the whole lobby, like pro teams, streamers, all in the same lobbies with casual players just trying to have fun. Like, you've clearly missed where the community is, right? You've engaged the entertainers, but you have not engaged their audiences or the community that's there for the actual game.
Mm. Okay. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah. Big audience compared to, and when you think of community, you think of more loyalty than the audience too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can definitely see that. I can definitely see that. So like, what is if you close your eyes, like what is a client for you? So I know you have your consulting business. Like what does a client look like for you?
Yeah, so I kind of have two versions, right? On the one side, it's going to be university esports directors or coaches trying to either build their program, get buy-in from a university or more buy-in, right? Maybe the university has let them create a program, but there's no funding, it's stagnant. They can't do what they want to do because they don't have resources, and help them build out kind of plans to get the resources, but to recruit anything from recruiting to fundraising to proposals to administration, all that stuff, right? Because you have a lot of coaches that are new to this, right? Not only to coaching, but to management of something, right? A lot of the times they might have been their gaming club president and moved into managing this program, and they did great maybe as a gaming club president, but you're seen differently when you're a coach or a director, and you have to do more things and engage with different people, and now you have to recruit rather than just get your friends to play. And so there's a lot of new people in this. So on the one side, I've got those clients who they have the passion and the heart, but they need more direction, right, to
Mm.
build and manage a program. And on the other side, you've got what I call esports adjacent brands in that sense, or new esports startups looking to engage a lot of the times with the university scene, because that is growing faster and more stable a lot of the time than the professional scene. And they want to engage with universities and want to know how and how to create what I call kind of an esports 2.0 product geared towards the players in the community versus just making millions in revenue. These people are there for you, right, for me, and how to build their products kind of around that.
Okay, okay. Side question: you think college is dead? And we had a person on here a few weeks ago who is basically like his university's, I'm not gonna say sole mission, but mission was like to make it so affordable that he would basically put colleges out of business. So like you think higher education is dead, or you think it's wiggle room for it to continue to be how it is at the institution?
Yeah, I think dead, no. Changing, yes. Right. There's a shift, and it's an industry that's often slow to change and to adapt, but it does produce the leaders of tomorrow, the people that are going to do a lot of that stuff. And yeah, you can learn through so many different avenues now, right? But you have to be taught how to learn. And if you've engaged with most high school students these days, like they went through COVID and all that stuff,
Yeah.
they forgot how to learn.
Mm,
And so if they're going out into the world, they may be taking, classes, doing some things online they found by themselves, but they don't have the mentors, the people to show them how to learn and to really give them the network connections they might need as they graduate to then succeed in their careers. So I think it's shifting, and obviously the financial models have to change, right? And I
Yeah.
think you'll see that it might happen slower than we all want, but you'll see it because if they don't shift, they will die, right? I mean, that's that's pretty clear, and so you're starting to see a lot more outside the box thinking on that. And of course, an addition of a lot of esports degrees that are showing up because they want to recruit new students, and you see that a lot where they're like, college is just a business. They're just, I mean, yeah, guys, it's a business. Everything's a business.
right. Yeah.
Like I'm talking to you because I'm a business, right? Like we all have to make money because
Right.
I enjoy feeding myself.
Yeah.
Like I got kids. Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
does everybody that works at a university.
Right.
Right. So they do have to make money and they do have a product, and but the product has to change to add value, as society shifts, right? And so they've got to figure that out. But I think it's shifting, not dying. And you've seen it in a lot of other countries where they've made the shift to, free college or things like that, right? They've changed how they do education to fit the times, and it's working wonders for them.
Mm.
Yeah, Mario. Ironically, on that topic of esports or degrees and esports, this week there was a article published in a media publication called Esports Insider, that just kind of really celebrated this new trend and upswing in the presence of esports degrees. And so the wider community, the esports community, is kind of split 50-50 down the middle. People kind of celebrating that article and people really trashing it because it everything that BJ just said and you said, yes, colleges are a business and they have to provide things and evolve. But a and we've had guests on our podcast who are very successful in the industry who dropped out of college.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah.
B, you don't necessarily have to go to college to work in esports. And then C, we've seen a downturn in the availability of jobs. So the question is, like, if you spend 4 years or you spent 4 years getting your degree, like, where and how can you use it if the teams have now all, not all, but many of them are close to going bankrupt?
Mm. Man, yeah, and the college degree ain't cheap either. Like I would say for me, um, I mean, I love my university. I'm actually on the foundation board, so I love my university. But I would say, from a college standpoint as a whole, I probably found out more about myself in like social environments and like just kind of learning how to talk to people, just how to just read people, how to learn people's thoughts, and just kind of get to know myself and people compared to more education. I mean, that's just me. I don't know how y'all experience was in college, but I mean, I was a business major. I have my own investment firm, so I guess that helped. But I learned so much just being in the business, not really a book. Like I don't even know half the books I read. Like you know what I'm saying, like English 101, history 101.
Now
So
let me throw this out to you because you just mentioned history and English, right? Talk about the humanities. 60% of CEOs in America have humanities degrees.
really,
That's what they started with, right? And so that gets you to think a little different. And
mm,
it teaches you context, how to research, how to study like societies, cultures, analyze things, and you could learn that in other ways, right? But that's a big part of business, is reading those trends, and that's what the study of history is, right? Societal trends throughout the ages. And so 60%, yeah, have humanities degrees.
would not have thought that.
I know it's
Yeah,
it's
Yeah.
it's weird, but it's,
yeah.
I don't know, it makes sense. I've got a humanities degree.
You're
And
current
you're
CEO.
you're CEO.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you could make a counter argument about the importance of esports degrees, though, when you look at the landscape. Like, yes, again, we've had people on the podcast who dropped out of college, and yes, you could jumped right into esports without getting a degree, but look at the result of that, right? A lot of the folks who were former CEOs of these esports orgs didn't have degrees, and frankly not the life experience or otherwise business experience beyond just being really good at playing the game. And
Right.
and they, all of them, most of them, I would say 90% of them, did excellent in terms of playing games and streaming. It was the business piece that didn't work. So maybe they should have gone and gotten business degrees.
Well, and it's, it's interesting, right? They because you see that argument. Everybody kind of talked about the suits came in and led to the collapse of esports,
Mm,
right? As they came in, and you're like, so what you're saying is people maybe without esports knowledge kind of killed the industry. So
mm.
maybe we should learn about esports before we go into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What type of and of course, again, a degree is a degree. Like once you get your
Right.
first job, and you kind of move along the lines.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, you do.
Yeah.
yeah, what actually like can you do with an esports degree? Like, I mean, it's not like it's a corporate esports job, right? So, like, what could you do with an esports degree?
Yeah. Oh,
Most
there
of the
there is a lot of things. Go ahead, Marcus. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say the most of that I've seen people with those degrees do is go back and like become esports coaches at like high schools, like program directors at high schools and maybe
Okay.
other colleges, right? We're still early enough along that there's still, and we've seen tremendous growth here in the collegiate space over the last several years, and we will into the next decade. So it's kind of a feedback, not a feedback loop, but it's a closed ecosystem because you're graduating people from the education sector basically to go back into the education sector.
Mm,
Yeah, it's
okay.
like philosophy teachers. They always say, "What are you going to do as a philosophy major?" Well, I'm going to teach philosophy,
Yeah.
right?
I'm gonna be Plato. That's cool.
Yeah, and so it makes sense, right? And then, you see that a lot. But what people don't understand too is, I mean, it was the same again. All these other traditional sports, same trajectory, the same issues happened when they were like all these sports went professional. Now there's industries. How do we create a better industry and build on this? And guess what? We have sport management degrees, and they're wildly some of the most successful at any university. And people don't complain about those anymore, but they used to.
Mm,
And they're like, why don't you just get a business degree? Why a sport management degree? Why do you need that? And now people are like, why do you need an esports degree? Well, honestly, it's in the name because you know what esports is now. All these kids coming up, they tend to know what esports is, right? So they recognize that term. But most of the degree is on management and business. So all these people that are out there complaining, you don't get an esports degree, it's a waste of time. It's just esports. What are you going to know about esports? It hasn't been around long enough to study. And you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, but sports and business and management have been. And then you have about 5 or 6 courses in actual maybe esports or the history of esports and esports communication or different things like that. But the majority of it is business and management. And that's what they're all complaining about.
Mm.
And I'm like, well, that's what you want. It wasn't, it's just titled esports degree so that you recognize what its emphasis is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's basically a business degree with a emphasis or a focus, a specialization
Yeah,
in
and
esports.
it's the same thing you do with your business degree. Well, I'm going to do a business degree with an emphasis in like finance.
Mhm.
Why don't they call it a finance business degree? And it's just business, right? Like they could, they absolutely could, and it would be the same thing.
Yeah, but if
It's
they did that with esports, nobody would sign up for it.
right, exactly, because they want esports, right? It's all in the semantics, and people are caught up in it without actually diving in and going, what is it?
Yeah. So BJ, in your opinion, what needs to happen to have esports in the forefront? I know over the years it's kind of going down a little bit. It's like, what do you think needs to happen for it to be kind of back in the forefront? Because a few years ago, like they would televise the events on TV. I saw it was I forgot what it's called. It was an event in Japan. It was on ESPN, like ESPN, not
Yeah,
like
right. The Overwatch League was on ESPN. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So like, what needs to happen to kind of get that back in the forefront? You think?
Yeah, well, so and I don't know. Maybe Marcus, you might have insight on this one, but I don't know of a good way to do the one thing that really needs to happen. I mean, you need to do more of the grassroots community organization of it. But with all the other sports, like so let's go back to college basketball. Who owns the rights to college basketball? It's the
Television.
NCAA.
Yeah.
The
Oh yeah.
NCAA,
Okay.
right? And then they sell the rights to TV to broadcast. The NCAA doesn't own a video game. They don't own esports. They don't own the rights, right? So if you want to get it in front of people, those rights have to be taken away from the publisher and given to the esports, the sport, right? The NCAA, like I remember when I was a director, our athletic director went to the NCAA conference, and he's all about esports, very supportive there at Greenville University, and it was great. So they went to find out some information on it too from the NCAA. They were not going to get involved. The NCAA said
I remember
no
that.
to esports, right? Because it's going to cost billions to buy a publisher, or the same amount to develop their own video game that they own the rights to. So they said we're not touching it because we can't own it yet. So I think that's the big hurdle. You have to somebody has to own it, that or the sport has to own it in a sense, or the conferences that run the tournaments in the sport. Um, and until you can do that, that's a major hurdle. But on the flip side, what you can now do is focus on those local communities, build the buy-in at that local level. So then over the next maybe 10 years or so, it builds up, and then the publishers go, oh shoot, like there's this there's a whole layer of these communities that aren't just outliers anymore. They've networked together, they've built something, and then I think you're going to see the big push through that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, a second layer of that is kind of doubling down on that notion and focusing on indie studios, right? BJ and I have had this conversation, Mario, you and I have as well, that I started in indie games, and indie games make up over 75%, maybe 85, 90%
So
of the
much.
games in the industry. So given basically any market, that market has independent game developers in it, like Jacksonville, Tampa, Virginia, wherever. If you establish partnerships with them, then it's value add to the indie developers, because they normally wouldn't have access to 20 or 30,000 students at a university, right? And then they're going to be much more cooperative about sharing those rights, because it's a win-win. You can't say the same thing for like Activision Blizzard, right? Like the scale, the relationship's not there. The leverage dynamics aren't there.
And right, what is the relationship? Esports for them is a marketing tool.
Yep.
They don't care about it as far as an industry or a sport. They're just like, you're playing our game, people are buying it, great.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Man, that'd be interesting. I would think like the NCAA would like want to get.
He'll be back.
He'll be back. And I like how it
I would think
ended.
they would
They would
like,
want to get involved. What is it? What do they want?
Oh yeah, no, yeah. The cliffhanger, but not like I said. I think like that they would actually want to do that so they could be in the forefront. So as it expands 10, 15, 20 years from now, like they have the rights to it already. But you said it costs them too much money to do that.
Yeah, you'd have to buy a studio or develop your own video game, right? And
Making
that
games,
costs
good
money.
games, is
Yeah.
like catching lightning in a bottle, right?
Because
Like
what was it
they're
with? I mean, Monopoly Go, right? They like were the fastest to reach $1 billion in revenue, but they spent a 1.5 billion on development, so they aren't profitable yet. But they reached $1 billion.
yeah, and that's not the first one they've made. I think it's like the third or fourth one.
Yeah, right. So
Wow.
Yeah.
How much the side question? How much the Power World? I know we did a preview
oh
about that a few
man,
weeks ago. How much did they actually make, and then how much was to create the game? Do we know?
I know you're asking how much they got from Pokemon versus how much they actually developed.
We're waiting for the court case on that answer. I think
Oh
they had
man,
something like 20 million players, right? It was like
yeah, I think
12 million
so.
on Steam, 7 million on Xbox. So they had bundled in with Game Pass. Did north of $100 million. I don't know. I would be surprised if they spent $100 million making it. So
Right? Yeah.
yeah, they were a smaller team. It was like 50 people. I don't know. I have to look that up. But definitely, I'm sure it was profitable for them, especially because they had
Right.
so much inspiration to draw from.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
You did.
$6.7 million.
Wow.
That's how much it cost.
Well, kudos to that team.
Yeah.
At least until we know what the court case does. Maybe it's still kudos to them, but
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And so revenue, so 20 million users equates to how much dollars? You said about 20 million
I
or
think it
100
was
million?
like 100 million because I think there's
yeah, in
microtransactions in
revenue.
there.
Yeah. Pretty
What is the
sure.
game like? $40? Let's see.
Wow. Must be the moonlight.
And that's honestly, can we say that that's the biggest reason I'm mad at Apex right now? Is because I get throttled all the time, right? I bought the very first battle pass, season 1, it came out, and I was like, this is one game I'm going to try to be good at, right? And every season I finished it and it gave me enough coins to buy the next battle pass. So I never had to pay for another battle pass. But now all these people are preventing me from getting my free battle pass every season.
Hmm.
I don't want to do those microtransactions.
You wanna play to earn or play to play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I know we thought about that a couple weeks ago as well, like from like a blockchain standpoint, like how can you be paid to basically play, like all the tokens that you make, like if it's a way that they can tokenize that through crypto. I think it'll be a lot more, and that actually might help esports, right? Because now you have like your everyday players that are watching the teams, but then they can play themselves and make money. Maybe that's the way to have esports grow a little bit, to give everybody a piece of the pie instead of just the teams.
Yeah, it's a new revenue stream. We haven't really seen it done well in esports at
Right.
all. Every
Yeah.
time I've seen it, it's been either a lawsuit or a straight up scam.
So has the actual team tried to like create like an NFT or a coin yet? Like have they went that far?
FaZe Clan made one called the FaZe Forever NFT. It was like a gaming cartridge, and I have to go back and look at the stats. From what I saw, they had less than 0.001% of their global audience redeem that NFT. Not like 1%, like 0.0001% redeem it.
Yeah.
Right. And talk about education and outreach again. If you want people to buy into those things and stabilize that industry, you have to do outreach and education to the average person, like my neighbor again, or anybody's neighbor. You go to them, you want some crypto, they'll be like, what on earth are you talking about? And digital money? No. Like some people still are afraid to use debit cards online because their information's
Yeah.
getting stolen.
Yeah.
So why would I trust a completely online set? Because, and again, they just it's kind of that we talk about the difference between knowing your audience and actually knowing your audience, right? They're like, this is the audience I think that knows about my product, so we're going to market to them.
Yeah.
And you're basically feeding your own little engine. It's a philosophy teacher teaching philosophy again, but all you're doing is trading crypto back and forth to each other, right?
Yeah.
Like you got to get
Yeah.
out there. You got to go
Yeah.
tell
Yeah.
other
That's
people about it and teach them, and like, right? So I think if you do that in esports at the same time, maybe some magic can happen.
Yeah, that could have happened for sure with the Creator League, right? They had like
Yeah.
the first, what I thought was the first legitimate use case for crypto and
Yeah.
NFTs. and they chose to do the opposite of communicate. They chose to like obfuscate, right? Like muddy the waters of the definition of what they were doing. And even when people were calling
Right.
them out on it, they were doubling down on it. Oh, we're not using any crypto. There are no NFTs in here. They're soul bound. They
Like,
can't be NFTs. No, soul bound is a type of NFT.
right. You can't. You gotta. And maybe that's we talk about. You know, the executives not wanting people to be educated in esports because then they have to actually be educated in esports as an executive. There's a fear in that. And the same in crypto. We've created this cool technology, but you know, if we're gonna explain it to somebody, we might have to be educated through the whole process now. Versus the cool idea we had, and now there's thousands of people under us actually doing the process, and they don't know anymore, right? They're out of touch with all those things already. So I think there's just a fear of having to be educated or continuing to educate yourself, even if you created a technology on how it shifted and changed in the public and things like that.
So talk about crypto, BJ. What are your thoughts like? Like you think first off, what's your favorite coin? And second off, do you think crypto is here to stay? Or do you think that it is going to, well, when I say here to stay, I mean continue to grow? Or do you think kind of where we're at, we're kind of stay stagnant where it's the Bitcoin, they're working on a blockchain, but ain't nothing going on. So what's your thoughts about crypto as a whole?
I think that with the advent of kind of what we're calling AI, and it's not yet true AI, but the advent of AI, I
Wait, wait,
think,
wait,
is
wait,
going to
wait,
make that more manageable.
Sorry. Okay. So you don't think AI is going on right now? We mean we say true AI. You got to touch on that, BJ. What do you mean?
Right, right. Somebody
He's,
might
he's a
have,
power user over here. He's an AI
yeah,
power
so,
user.
somebody might have something somewhere that's a secret,
Okay.
but it's it's not artificial intelligence, it's man-made intelligence. Like, right, in the sense that, like, all it's doing is mimicking man. It's not thinking
Mm,
on its own yet,
okay.
right?
Okay.
So it's intelligent in a sense that it knows everything that we know and it can compute faster, right? I mean, there's that intelligence factor, but it's not yet thinking on its own. And as a huge sci-fi nerd, until it thinks on its own, like, it's not just doing all these computations. You didn't just program an algorithm. Like, it's thinking on its own. That's AI.
Mm.
That's Skynet.
That's
Yeah, that's
Skynet,
Skynet.
right?
Yeah, that's Skynet.
That's AI, right?
Right.
We've got the basis, right? It's moving, but it's like the same thing. We're calling it artificial intelligence, and if you ask somebody, oh, it's a large language learning model, right? That's the actual term,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So I'll get there when we get to true AI. We'll see what happens with the world, but now it's just a bunch of servers in a room that somebody's keeping cold so they function.
Yeah. Okay. I'll stop you from talking about your thoughts about crypto and where we are. I'm
No,
yeah.
no, it's good. So at my core, right, I love history, right? I was going to be an archaeologist. That was going to be where I started with my whole career. So everything I do is through that lens. Crypto could be great. I don't know. It hasn't been here long enough for somebody like me to say it's going to be, around forever. In a form, it will. I mean, currency is going to be digital, right? But we'll see what happens with the US dollar and the digital dollar, right? That they're working on.
Yeah.
When that comes out, how much of a dent in crypto does that take, or does it take a dent, or do they merge the two, right? So I think there are some things left undone yet, like the process isn't finished, and
Mm,
there hasn't been enough of a, you know I don't know, a history of it to then say one way or the other. So I haven't invested in it because my brain's like, all right, I'm watching, and my wife will attest. I'll sit there and watch. I'm the most patient person like she's ever met. I'm like, I'm gonna watch, and I'm gonna wait, and I'm gonna see, and then I'll tell you what I think later once there's once there's been some movement one way or the other. Because right now, I mean, it fluctuates so much, and some of those people be like, well, if you invested now and then that coin takes off, your whole life is going to change. And I'm like, you're right, it could, it could. I might miss out, I really might, but my brain doesn't work that way.
okay. 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 I just said, yeah, I definitely I'm definitely a believer of crypto. Now, like, where will it take us 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now? Like, I don't know, but I definitely think people will adopt crypto more. I think as to get the blockchain.
Yeah, blockchain.
uh,
Yeah, blockchain has the real potential, in my opinion. I think blockchain is what saves crypto.
mm,
Right.
what saves crypto? Because you think with AI or AI whenever it's real
It's all
AI,
right. You
right?
can say AI.
Okay,
I'm good.
yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah. So like even now, it's not as pronounced, but 3, 4, 5 years now, because technology repeats itself every basically 6 months now, right? Like
Right.
it's gonna be so many deep fakes. It's gonna be so many articles that come out, videos that come out, and you really won't know if that person said something or didn't say something, right?
Right.
It's gonna be people being canceled and not canceled and canceled again in the same 24-hour span,
I'm gonna
right?
have to shave my beard so somebody can't use my face. They won't know what it
Yeah.
looks like.
Yeah. So TMZ gonna make a lot of money canceling and uncanceling people, but wouldn't it be a way though, like to see, okay, like is that really real or not real? And I think like the blockchain, because nobody owns the blockchain, right?
Right.
It's just a whole bunch of other people out there together to kind of verify information. So I think just seeing like what's fake and what's not fake, the blockchain is going to be there to
Yeah.
basically be the real what it called the fact checker, right? Fact checker. Like
Yeah.
they're gonna be the real fact checker. So I think to your point, I think the blockchain will expand. But I'm a Bitcoin fan. If I think if any
Yeah.
coin is going to kind of make it, I don't, maybe not Ethereum and other forward coins that's out there, but I think Bitcoin has a way to definitely be standing tall 5, 10,
Yeah,
15,
it's
20
it's
years from
got
now.
the weight. It's got the weight. And I remember I was working in IT back in it would have been 2013, right? And that stuff was all kind of coming out. And I remember my manager, like I think he bought a Bitcoin server back then.
Oh, a
Uh,
server.
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah, I think they bought one if I remember right. But I just remember thinking like I get it, but at the same time, I mean, and I'm sure he's got a lot of money in that, right? He's ridden the wave the whole time, right? I said I might miss
Mm,
out, but we'll see what happens. And I think obviously things are going to adapt and shift, right? And I do think that the fact checking is what's going to really save a lot of that because in a sense, we already saw from a history standpoint, right? The value of the dollar went down when it was taken off the gold standard because there's no value behind it. And you're like,
yeah.
all right, now you just created something digital with nothing. Like
Right.
in a sense, it's all timed. How can you mine it, and on those schedules and now, of course, I don't know if you've seen that latest story about the. I'm from Arkansas, by the way. That's where I grew up, so I might have just seen this because I'm from Arkansas originally. The Bitcoin mines that are in Arkansas that everybody's complaining about now.
No.
Really?
Yeah, because they are loud and producing so much heat that all the neighbors are upset. They're like, it's so loud next door 'cause it's just it's a bunch of
It's a
computers.
bunch of
Yeah.
computers,
Like
yeah.
we
Yeah.
know, so we'll see if they can perfect a system that I don't know works with society in that sense, and they just might. But I don't know. I'm like I say, I'm looking at all these things, and I'm like, it could be really cool, and I'll get in maybe at some point, but I'm gonna wait.
Yeah. It's you said that. So then like the conspiracy guys, like, is that a scam? Because like a whole bunch of computers mining for an electric, I mean like a digital coin, like isn't that kind of
Right,
like
right.
weird? Like I know like mining for gold, or like we're at the beach with our radar detector, finding something, but like a whole bunch of computers kind of like digging something that's like made up.
Right,
Kind of like,
exactly. Yeah, it's a strange concept when you try to
yeah,
wrap your brain around the whole thing. But obviously, I mean, we're getting to the edge of like space flight. Who knows when they're going to start mining the asteroids? But originally, it had been this idea like there's only so much gold on the planet, right? And
yeah,
eventually, you might run out, so you'd probably have to create a digital currency to keep going. And initially, gold was just valuable because somebody said it was. Right? I mean,
yeah,
it was rare. We started to find this mineral, and like, oh, you don't have it, and I have it. Great. There's intrinsic value already in this because I've got something you don't. And if Bitcoin, if they can hold on to that intrinsic value of if you have this, it's worth something, then it'll stay.
Or it'll be a
yeah.
scam by the electric conglomerates.
Oh my gosh, my utility company's charging me in Bitcoins now, and I don't know what to do.
Yeah, it's like it's like we're being trolled. Like we're being trolled. Like, okay, let's just create just like a name of a creator. Let's call him Satoshi. It's like like are we being trolled right now? Are we really being trolled?
Right, just a big collective societal troll, and in 10 years down the road, we're gonna find out. That's what it was all about. Like,
Yeah.
man, whoa. So
BJ,
Yeah.
do you think that in your experience with colleges that they do a better job of, I guess, integrating smaller brands, local brands than you've seen from tier one teams? I was just having a conversation with a colleague earlier today, and I said, I've never seen in the entire 6 years I've been in this space, 7 years now, I've seen more press releases than I can count of major partnerships. What I have not seen in 7 years, I don't think I've seen it once, is a legitimate, sincere case study of return on value for a brand partnership. I have never seen it. I've seen like a press release of a renewal, but I've never seen like we put X dollars in and we got like X plus Y dollars out.
yeah, right. And I would agree with you on that. I don't know if I've seen a true case study on that. But I do know that universities, colleges, right, they are integrated into most of their communities. And most of, of course, on the technology side, a lot of them have like startup incubators, right? Tech incubators on campuses. So they're creating a lot of those brands. And you talk about what's the realistic way esports students, when they're learning, how do they know? And they're like, you know what? These kids are building their own brands day by day. They're if they're not in university, they're still trying to build a startup. They're still trying to be a content creator, building their brands, creating their own businesses all the time. And some of them are successful, but right, some of them don't have the same resources. They don't have network connections. They don't have these things. And so universities come into play there. They can guide you, help you out. And yes, you have to pay them money, but like, when do you not have to pay somebody money? Like, honestly, like, everything costs in that sense, but it's a way to level the playing field for a lot of people in that sense. And I do think that colleges in those local partnerships, building up your local economies, because that's what we've seen, right? With the collapse of things on a national level, the areas that have built up their own local ecosystems are the ones that are surviving. So yeah, we want to all be connected, but we also want to make sure that in that connection we didn't leave out something like the core value or the core ecosystem. It's like, what happens if the core system of a big tech company goes down, right? They might have all the marketing teams on the planet and you might have all this information put out, but if the core servers are down, the product doesn't exist. And it's the same for like the country, for all of our national industries. Like, if you don't have your cities and their core universities and their local systems set up and thriving, the national scene is not going to thrive either.
Mm.
So, and universities do that, right? They create those local partnerships. Some of those programs go on to be massive companies, and some, with those partnerships. And
Yeah, sure.
yeah,
Oh, we got Google, right?
that's right. That's how you got it. Now, if only they would stop trying to poach, students from the universities with their own certifications. Right? They started at a university. Now they're trying to run them out of business. That sounds more like Amazon.
That does sound like
That's
Amazon.
funny. That is what we call capitalism, my friend.
I know.
Capitalism. That's right. Yeah. That's right.
I've noticed a trend. I don't know if you've seen this, and I hope it doesn't increase. It's a disturbing trend of, I think, kind of emergency, kind of last ditch efforts from venture capital funded esports organizations shifting into the collegiate space because they recognize what we recognize. That's where the money is. Like, perfect example. And no disrespect to the people who were laid off and the passionate, hardworking, ethical people who worked at this company, but Wisdom Gaming was venture capital funded, and then they basically laid off a bunch of, I think like 30 to 50% of their staff were about to declare bankruptcy. And like the very next press release I saw from them is that they were partnering with a local university to teach the students sustainability in esports. It's like, you don't even know it yourself. You literally almost just went bankrupt. How are you qualified to teach anything? I've seen a lot of that. And
and you see a lot of those executives then complain because they don't think anybody else knows how to teach esports, but then they want to come and try to teach it. And you're just like, but I don't know. It's a mess in that regard, right? And I hope that trend doesn't continue. And that's you talk about what do I help some of these clients of mine do? And honestly, if you're a client or not, like, I'm gonna give it to you straight in that regard. You want to know what brands to trust and what brands to not trust, we'll help you understand that, right? I mean, we saw not that we need to open this can, right? But the whole play versus debacle. I mean, to me, that's like the gold standard of these organizations that came and, were predatory towards all the schools and this and that. And now you're seeing that right with these companies and the universities. Let us teach you, partner with us. We've done these things. We know what we're doing, but we've also laid off half of our employees. And yeah, I mean, you just have to know when there's a lot of chaos in the space, like there are those companies that are bad actors, right? In that sense, and not that all the people that work for them are bad actors, but it's usually just a few people calling those shots, right, and directing the entire ship that direction. Um, but I mean, yeah, you have to be aware that there's bad actors because these are students or kids, and like, guys, we got to do better.
Yeah, that's very true. So, if a person hires you as a consultant, what should they expect?
What should they expect? Oh man, you should expect so, number one, I'll get you moving. That's I'll get you moving. I'd say my specialty is unfreezing, right? We have a lot of whether it's esports, non-esports, whatever kind of brand you're looking at. The one thing that always is happening typically when people are reaching out is like, I'm stuck. So number one, you're gonna get unstuck, right? You're going to start moving, and that's always the first step is unfreezing. Then we're going to, what's the problem? Let's get you unstuck from that problem. Let's educate those around you that can help you and build that network. So you're going to have access to a network. We're going to get you unstuck, and honestly, you're gonna learn to think outside the box. I'm going to teach you how to learn, whether you wanted it or not. Right. So yeah, I'm an educator at heart. I love learning and teaching and things like that. So I bring that to everything I do. And in fact, that was my biggest, probably the biggest complaint that I got when I was in sales. They were like, BJ, you can't teach or consult in here. This is just sales. And
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, but these people got a problem and I can help. And they're like, you just got to sell the product. And I was like, yeah, I get it. I get it. But
yeah,
also, then I was like,
You know
I'm
about
not
this.
doing sales anymore.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, and you're gonna go through my process, right? We're gonna go through researching, finding that core idea again, understanding what your business was about. Did you get away from that? Did you stick to it? How can we get you back on track? Then we're gonna build awareness about your brand, give you support in that sense, help your community thrive again. Then you're going to lean into that development stage, right? Redeveloping your product to fit the research and awareness that you've put into it, develop your community on top of that, and then leverage all that together in your current resources to then see you grow some more.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, definitely congratulations on all your success and on the business.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
You have a Discord as well, right? You're growing your own community. You eat your own dog
Yeah,
food.
doing that. I need to post some more stuff in there, man. These kids are keeping me busy these days. So I stay at home and I work from home. So I watch the toddlers as well. So, but it's a Discord community. I've started just kind of calling it my grassroots esports incubator.
Yeah.
It's all the people that you want to be partnering with in the industry on this grassroots level. They are all going to help you. They all have like they're so nice, they're friendly, whatever your problem, whatever you need, they're going to help you find people that can solve your problems.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think he's totally right. We need basically a network of trusted, vetted professionals and vendors, and maybe the blockchain to, establish
Right.
that trust.
Right. Put
Um,
put me on the blockchain as a vetted
yeah,
professional.
right, right. We just need, and his other point was great too. It's not like the people. Mostly, it's not the people working for these companies that's creating the harm. It's a handful of people, unfortunately, at the executive level where they have influence on how the money is spent and the strategic direction that are making these less than ethical decisions, and that's how we got where we are now. But luckily we also have folks like BJ, right, who's riding the ship from the collegiate space, and as he and I say all the time, like, this is the new foundation of the
Yeah.
esports ecosystem.
As I said, right at that university level, you're putting professionals out into the world that know a little bit more than those that went before them. And I think that's okay, right? I think that's part of the problem. It's okay for the next generation to know more about the problem than you did, right? They
Mhm.
can solve it. that's the point. We're supposed to let them solve the next problems. And at the university level, you can then, right, that's what built out a lot of the youth and scholastic esports. So from that foundation, it spread both directions. And if we can continue to do that and build the pipelines both ways, eventually we're going to have a better industry, and that's what's going to build the Olympics now.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely looking forward to seeing, America represented on the global stage. Thank you so much for your time today, BJ. Before we
Yeah, guys.
go, let us know how we can continue to follow your journey and support you.
Yeah, definitely. So LinkedIn is my main platform, right? That was one of those things I learned early on. I'm not going to spread myself thin. I'm going to pick one and I'm just going to stick to it. I tried TikTok once, and you know what? I can't create all that content that I need to stay relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, right. So follow me on LinkedIn. Join our Discord server if you have, if you're any sort of esports business, coach, creator. We have channels for all those different sectors of esports in there to kind of connect with people. And I launched my Substack as well, so I can, get some of my own audio and a little bit of podcasting on there, but more long form content. So, yeah, those kind of three places.
I heard last week we got introduced to a new platform called Beehive. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be better than Substack. I haven't tried it yet, but that's what I've
It's good, but also has its caveats, right? And that's right, the thing I've learned with education. You do what's best for you.
Hmm.
Beehive is really good. It has a good monetization, different things like that, but it has a steeper learning curve. And so if you want to spend several hours getting everything set up, I also like the style of Substack in its display format. It looks less like Windows 95 to me,
Yeah.
right? Beehive with its little borders and things like, and I've seen we talk about things being cyclical, and maybe this now makes me old, but like I grew up with all those Windows things, and I don't want to see that come back.
Me
So
neither.
if your
Me
platform
neither.
is aesthetically, if it looks like anything from the 1990s, I'm probably just gonna stay away.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Beehive is
No,
great. It really is, but I just like Substack for its the podcast ability, the long form, all kind of putting everything that I want to do in one place.
yeah. It seems to me like Substack is like you can put everything like in one pot. And what I've heard with Beehive is that you can make more money, but it's not as friendly to the creator, I guess.
Right, and I would agree. Like that's why there are a lot of brands out there that have now they'll help you create, on a lot of different sites. They'll help you create your little websites and things like that. I was like, I don't need a website. I've
Right.
got one. I don't need one. All I need is a place to store a lot more of this long form content in a user friendly zone that can has chat features and podcasting and just things that I needed.
Yeah. I know we're wrapping up, but just one more just kind of comment. From like a long form standpoint, it seems like that's like coming back. It's like,
Yeah.
maybe 3 years ago it was all about short content, kind of,
Yeah.
TikTok, in your face and then you're gone. But it seems like now, even like the podcast, like you see a lot more conversational, not as much sensational, but more kind of, conversation like right here, like,
Yeah.
conversational, more long form to kind of get to know people instead of just like the quick hits. So
Yep, it's a
yeah,
trust factor, right? You want to find those vetted professionals that you trust and read their form content. You don't want just all the snippets because then you're trying to piece them together and you don't understand this person versus that person, what everybody's saying. It's loud. It's
yeah,
too loud, and long form content is quiet.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, definitely want everybody to follow you and support you, and continue to do all the amazing work that you're doing in the space, because
Yeah,
it's
appreciate it, guys.
vitally important to the future of the ecosystem. Mario, let everybody know where they can find and support you. And then after that, BJ, if you let us know, I think you may have to jump over to LinkedIn. We've got a couple comments here. Someone who wanted to get a free digital copy of both Mario's book and my book.
Yeah, yeah. So very easy. Just follow me on Instagram at Painful Profits. So at Painful PAYNEFUL Profits. Because when we make money, it can be painful, but it's Painful Profits. And also on LinkedIn, just Mario Paint on LinkedIn.
Awesome. And then BJ, did you see anybody that you wanted to get a free copy of the book?
Yeah, so me.
And while you're doing that, everybody, thank you for joining us for this week. We'll see you again next week. I want to remind everyone, if you have a startup that is looking for funding, in 3 weeks or 2 weeks now, I'll be co-producing a venture capital investor pitch and networking event. It's 100% online. It's 100% free to participate. You just need to register. It takes less than 5 minutes to register. I'm going to put that link here in the comments for this episode. I accidentally clicked the same link. So let me see if I can undo that. I want to use my own computer. There we go. So check that link out. Again, it's free, and free and digital and funding. You rarely hear those three words in the same sentence. So definitely take advantage of that. And other than that, BJ, did you find someone?
Yeah, so we're looking at the comments on the LinkedIn here.
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. So there we go. Let's do Robbie Jarrett.
Okay, excellent. He said community is key. So Robbie, congratulations.
Right, and that's right on message, right? And his thing is like, let's empower the esports community. And I'm like, right there, let's go.
Okay, well, Robbie, congratulations. You won a digital copy of The Relaxed Investor and a digital copy of Innovate Gaming and Esports. Thank you for your support. We will see you next week. Y'all have a great weekend. Peace.